Bam, we're back. Warriors Anonymous, welcome along. This is a bit of a strange one. We're here on a Monday doing what we call RAD Monday. That's because 9 NRL teams are currently enjoying their Mad Monday. Their season's over. Warriors are not one of those teams. So we're going to do a RAD Monday. We're going to give you all sorts of rad stuff. So my name is Jared Cronin. Welcome along to Isaac Sauce and Daniel Wharakura. It's going to be pretty quick fire on this little episode because we've got a few things to get through, bringing you the important things. So let's kick us off and get us started with, well, first of all, what's happening in week 1 of the NRL finals. And bada bing, bada boom, here we go. Finals week 1 is going to be underway on Friday night with Daniel's favourite team, the Brisbane Broncos, taking on my favourite team, the Melbourne Storm. I hope Greg Dye is listening because Buddha's always got something to add from. Then on Saturday, there's the night game. The late game is the Sharkies hosting the Chooks. Producer Matt was laughing at you, Buddha, as to how you couldn't believe the Roosters had actually made it. Somehow they did, and they're up against the Sharkies. And then on the Sunday is the Knights against the Raiders with their minus 400 points differential. So,
can I just say about Tyson Gamble? I know I paid out Phoenix Cross on Tyson Gamble, but man, he was like a man possessed against the Dragons. He was making breaks, all sorts. So
yeah, but is he as good as Phoenix Crosland?
Phoenix Crosland, great name. One of the greatest names of the league.
Great name and a great main as well. Isaac, this game that we've got, the big one. Give us the details, because this is really, for us, the main game of the weekend. Give us the rundown of what's happening and also what this game means for our finals hopes.
Okay, then. So at Blue Ball Stadium, Penrith, we've got the Panthers and the Warriors. Kickoff time, 6 p.m. New Zealand, 4 p.m. Australian, 8 a.m. in Germany for Abzivaz, and 3 p.m. for Japan for my Wahine, who will be back in the motherland. So
and that was for you as well for a few weeks' time when you're going to be heading over there. We'll just give you a bit of a guide. Also, the Germany time is for Sir Lancelot, who's a great fan of the podcast. A good man. So
a kingdom
bro, what does it mean, this game? It's a pretty important one for our hopes.
Well. So, scenario number 1. If we beat the Panthers at Blue Ball Stadium, we get a week off. Maybe a quick, short trip to Bali. Seems to be all the rage with league teams these days.
It works.
And then
massive tattoo down your leg,
Yeah, if you want to, sleeve tat or leg tat, it's a place to go. And then after their little trip to Bali, we are back at home facing either the Broncos, the Storm, the Sharks, or the Roosters.
So it's a pretty big one. I know it's only week 1 of the finals, but it does have a big impact on how the rest of our finals roll out. So, carry on, bro.
100%. And we're not playing all 4 teams of the same day if we win against Penrith. We're just playing one of the 4.
A death match.
Yeah, it's not blood sport. It's not kumite. However, if we lose against the Panthers, then we have to play another game, but that'll be at home, which will still be cool nonetheless, against either the Knights or the Faders. And if we win that game, we carry on to an away game against either the Broncos or the Storm. So it's going to be tough either way, but I know which end of the draw, so to speak, I'd like to be on. That's a trip to Bali. So exciting stuff.
Take the Bali trip.
I'll take the Bali trip.
Because it's a bit of a tricky one in that you look at it as week 1 and you're thinking, well, we've got another game up, technically up our sleeve if we don't win this one. But if we can win this one, it has such a huge impact. So I know that
massive advantage.
You've been taking it very seriously, and you've been doing a lot of study on how we can take down the minor premiers, the Pantheon. Bro, what have you picked up?
So, after watching them absolutely put a masterclass over the Cowboys, and as soon as they scored 20 points, I was like, we're playing the Panthers. So I decided to just go back to their last loss, and it wasn't that far ago. It was only a couple of weeks ago. So obviously they lost to the Eels quite convincingly. I think it was in the sort of late 30s to 20, but there's a period of time they were just being outplayed. So I thought, hey, let's have a look at that. Let's dive into that. That is potentially the blueprint to beat this team, because the Para have the wood over the Panthers. The Panthers have been the best team in the last 3 years. most consistent team, but the Eels have, and I don't know the stat, maybe the head-to-head, probably 4 or 5 wins over them. So we have to go back to that game. So what I observed in that game, a couple of things. First and foremost, finishing the sets off, kicking to the corner, good kick chase, with at least the first couple of tackles being dominant tackles as well. So that's something that we have, I believe. We definitely displayed that earlier part of the season. Webby instilled that, and I guess that's a component of what Webby's brought to the team as well. So I feel we have that ability to stay in the grind with them. You can't make mistakes against the Panthers. You've got to put pressure on them as well. So there's something that the Eels did really, really well. The next observation was they just threw something a bit. They just throw things differently at the Panthers. Most teams, and like the Cows did in the weekend, were just very predictable in their attacking play. They were, well, two things. They threw a few different bits of shape at them. They, after quick play the balls, they would spread it wide. That meant there was runners being held, or defenders being held up in the middle as well, and they got them out to the edges. And of all players, Gutho in particular, on one leg that night, he managed to skip around the outside a couple of times, which kind of bodes well, because I know Chance has that little sweep play as well when he's available. So I thought that's definitely something we have in our kit bag. We have the ability to stretch from wide, count the numbers. One thing which kind of scared me a little bit, and I don't know if you noticed, boys, as well, is the offload game. So Para, and that night in particular, offloaded a lot of second phase ball, which kind of, I guess, like for most defenses, and the Panthers being the perfect defensive line, just mixes it up a little bit, gives them something different to think about. It's not as sort of orthodox as they're used to seeing. So as soon as the Para are able to get a roll on, get second phase ball, especially if they're big boppers, you've got you had Junior Paolo and you had Ryan Madison, those sort of guys can offload at will. It just created another phase, something different for them as well. So I did some stat checking. Greg Spence probably knows this as well.
Okay.
The number one team in the competition for offloads, who do you think they would be, boys?
Parramatta.
Para?
Yes, Parramatta. And I think in the realms of like 338 or 380, something quite high. Seconds and is like 50 offloads below. Who is the least offloading team in the competition?
Is it us?
It's us. So yeah, unfortunately, it is us. So I guess I don't know what your thoughts are, boys, but and Webby's, and Webby we trust, right? But I wonder if we may see a bit of that this weekend. I wonder if we've got the ability to do that as well. And I guess it's you go two minds, right? Do we play how we've been playing? It's been very successful for us, or like a lot of people say, is you just have to give the Panthers something different to focus on, and not be so predictable. So I don't know. I'm in two minds. Can we do that and emulate a Parramatta and get a win, or do we stick with magic round approach and stay with them? We're probably we're one of maybe two teams that displayed this year that we can stick in the grind as well. So up for debate, boys. But that's a little bit of what the secret sauce could be.
Jeez,
to get the win.
Gone real deep on this one. I like it. Isaac, what are you thinking that we need to do to unlock this defense of the Panthers?
It's going to be tough. I understand the concept of emulating Parramatta, but I think it's too far into the season for that to happen. And I would have thought if they were going to try a different game plan or experiment with something, they might have done it with maybe 6 or 7 rounds to go in the regular season when they were in with a shot with the top 8, top 4, but used as an opportune time against some lesser teams to test some things out. And they didn't really do that. They kind of just stuck. They did it a little bit. Tohu was sort of offloading in the tackle, which we hadn't seen for 3/4 of the season. But they weren't really diverging from the game plan so much. What I think might happen is they'll play what looks like their normal game plan, but with a couple of just little dinky changes into it. Because Penrith would have done their homework. They would have watched game tape. They would have seen how the Warriors have been skinning teams the way they have all season. So they'll be dialed into that. But a couple of slight changes in there, here and there, just to get them in two minds, is how I think they might play it. The Warriors, because they've already got it well drilled, skinning teams on the outside to DWZ. But changing that ever so slightly so it's not too much of a departure from what they're really good at, and just mixing it up a little bit might be the way to go. Hey, I could be completely wrong. They might go way back to the start of the season when they were playing some crazy trick play type footy. They've got that in their kit bag too. We can't forget about that. But yeah, I don't know about the whole offload. I don't know if we've got the team to emulate that Parramatta style play. Like, I look at Jackson Ford. I don't want him to offload. I've seen him try to do it, and he's just not the best at doing it. Maybe Tohu, maybe AFB. But yeah, Parramatta just sort of built a little bit differently from us.
Yeah.
But if we could emulate that, that would go a long way to us breaking up their defensive line, because that's what Parramatta were doing.
I'm going to put it down to the guys in the middle, the battle between our middles. Aden, Barnett, Tohu, and Jazz, and Walker. I reckon those five guys going up against the Penrith guys, Yo and Leota and Fisher-Harris, Lenu off the bench. I reckon that battle there between those five guys is going to go a long way towards seeing who gets the chocolates on Saturday night. But who's if you've got one individual matchup to pick, what are you looking at?
Mitch Barnett versus Fisher-Harris. But Barney was man-possessed, I think, in the weekend. He does everything he could. He also threw a cheeky offload as well. And he gets that ball over the top, so I want to see him do that. But yeah, more from a defensive pressure point of view, I think he's going to bring the heat.
Yeah, fair enough. Isaac, have we got any? Do you think Webby's working on any sort of extra things that we can kind of just pull out of the old kit bag for the finals? Because it looks like I don't know if we've been holding back maybe from the past few games.
I think there'll be a whole bunch of surprises, to be honest. I really think, and I could be wrong, but I really think Webster's been holding a lot back, knowing that the Warriors are going to be playing against the likes of the Broncos, the likes of Penrith, where they're so well drilled and well coached. They'll probably do a lot of their homework on the Warriors, So I think he's been holding stuff back to surprise them, and probably trying to go, knowing that they can go back to the grind if push comes to shove and things don't work out, but throw a couple of jabs, throw a few surprises in there to keep them on their toes before maybe going back into the grind. I do have one concern though, and this is only on the back of the game just gone, is how the Dolphins played quite wide quite early, and they got on the outside and caused a bit of trouble. Yep. Now, Penrith's back five are probably far more talented than the Dolphins. So if they decide to shift it wide, I think we're going to have to be pretty well organized out on those edges to make sure they don't get too much of an advantage. Yeah, because the Dolphins, no knock to them, their back five is nowhere near as talented as Penrith's.
Yeah, that's a really good call. This is going to be a busy week in the lead up to the game. Plenty going on. We're going to be jumping on. A couple of us fellas going to be joining NRL Fanatics on the episode tonight, so that's going to be cool. You can catch us tomorrow. We're going to be bouncing back with what I've loosely called Teams Day, because I couldn't think of anything else, and that is to go over the team lists. They get released tomorrow, of course. We're going to review them, have a look at who's in, who's out. Hopefully we might have our best 17 on the paddock for once in our lives. Imagine that. So yeah, we're going to be checking that out tomorrow, and we'll keep you updated all week with what's going on right here. On behalf of Isaac Sauce, Daniel Whatakura, I'm Jared Cronin. We'll see you soon. Warriors Anonymous. Oops of us.
Oops of us.
Oops of us.